Welcome back to the Nullified Take channel here on YouTube, where we've got the TNT takes for you on the Challenge World Championships. That's right, episode 5. I'm your host, Chris, and with me again today is BK Kahuna. Kahuna, how you doing?
Mate, I'm doing very good. Not being a pork chop at all this week, so
I already forgot what a pork chop means. It's being silly, right? Or doing
yeah, just
something
being
that is
yeah,
out of the
just
way.
act yeah, just being you're acting like a pork chop, mate. You're just being silly, foolish, a buffoon,
Mm,
if you will. So if you
mm.
want to get fancy with it, but yeah, that's the way Australians will talk, calling someone a pork chop.
I'm not surprised by what we saw this episode when it comes to the relationships that's between these different Australian contestants, because we know that Kiki was not a part of the alliance that Emily and Grant was in their original season. And we also know that Troy kind of didn't mess with them all that much either. This is kind of, I think, baggage coming from the Australian version of the show that is sort of leading into this main show where they don't fully know if they can trust each other because they were in opposing sides. But there is also this sort of patriotism or this kind of feeling like they have to look out for each other while they're out there. And we kind of saw it play out in this episode.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure like someone like Emily being an Olympic athlete would be dealing with politics and personalities, and when you've got all alphas that compete at the highest level, she's dealing with that kind of thing constantly, but putting the flag first. And it was interesting to see in the first episode, she said, I know we're all Australian, but I'm here to race for me. So it's going to be interesting to see how that internal struggle that you mentioned, the patriotism versus the own selfish desires, I guess, plays out. It's going to be fun to watch, I think.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how it plays out, because we know at some point it's even they kind of ended on a cliffhanger. Will they or won't they betray one of the Australians when it comes to the elimination? I'm kind of leaning towards they won't or they shouldn't this early, but I don't know where Darrell's head is at, because this whole episode, Darrell was trying to not make a move, and his version of not making a move would probably be to save the likes of Jordan or a Bananas in the spot, because those are people that he's played with before. And there's also those people that potentially will be on future seasons that he's going to be on.
Yeah. I mean, Darrell, that's always his strategy. And in the most recent seasons, it hasn't really worked out for him. I don't know if Kiki's going to defer to him in that regard, because she is a firecracker and she does want to go after things, but she's also got that respect for his knowledge and him being a legend. So that could be a very interesting, the way that plays out. Her being fierce, wanting to fight back and Darrell wanting to slide under. They've got a big
Mm.
choice to make coming up, and that's going to be fun. I think Darrell. I think they'll actually go with someone big, but I'm not sure who. Because I don't see the benefit of just another slide through with a Benya and Jody or a Tristan and Kellyanne. You got Wes in there. I think it's time to try something.
Yeah. No, I think it's going to be very interesting. I feel like you need to make the move, and obviously that was the big theme of this episode the whole time. Was will the MVPs finally take control of this game and go up against the Legends? The Legends are treating these MVPs like they're rookies coming onto the main show, and they're thinking that they can walk all over them. But the MVPs of this season, they're cut from a different cloth. This is not the rookies that you see play the MTV show every single season. They didn't give them layups this season, Kohuna.
Danny just doesn't give a shit. He's like, not whatever. Like I'm playing
Yeah.
my game. I'm not intimidated. I'm a 7-year NFL veteran who's won this game very, very recently. Like put respect on my name, and he's not backing down from anyone. His partner even, like which I love. Sarah's always got that
She's
the
got that
honey badger
attitude.
to it. Yeah, she's constantly got. It's like she's got a chip on her shoulder all the time. I'm
I
not
love
sure
it.
why, but it
I love it.
it
That
works.
this is
Yeah, it drives
can I
her.
just say, for me personally, I've always liked Danny, right? In every season that he's played, he's always been the nice guy. He's always been the guy that sort of, politely goes with things. He moves with the flow. He's not going to rattle cages. But man, oh man, is this Danny's coming out season as an absolute bona fide badass when it comes to reality TV shows. Like, I am the biggest Danny stan that you can ever get moving forward. Like, for him to have this kind of backbone and to not bend and to have Bananas basically moaning and complaining at the table, like, "Oh, come on, man, it's just the game," because he's
The
so
way it's always
sour that
done.
he's not getting his way. It was just like, let me eat it all up. I enjoyed it so much seeing this happening.
And the fact that Tori was right, like in front, out in Front Street, in front of everyone, saying, "If it was your fiance," and that nothing is breaking his, that attitude that he said, "I made a promise to the Australians and I'm sticking to it." And I don't even think if it was the promise had anything to do with it anyway. I think that was what he wanted. That was his goal, and he wants to take a shot. We've been seeing it coming for weeks,
Oh, yes.
and this was
Yeah.
his chance to kind of solidify it to the point where he goes, "Stuff it. I'll go to stalemate. I don't. We'll see. Like I'll back
Yeah.
myself. Let's
And
go."
I'll go in there. I'll go in there. I'll
Yeah,
dominate. I'll just win my way out of there. He's got the confidence to go in there and do it. He's got a good partner in Tori who, you know, hats off to Tori as well for standing her ground, because I do understand where Tori is coming from. Tori's playing these games with these people over and over again. There's no guarantee that, the way that the challenge go, they will maybe bring one or two of these MVPs back, maybe, to play the game again, because they don't normally bring a lot of new players back season after season. So she's got to worry about her own behind. She's got to worry about how she looks like to the rest of the legends out there when she plays season 39. Danny doesn't have that worry. Like, he's like, this is probably my I don't think, and I'd like to hear your opinion about it. I don't see Danny become, like, I would love for him to become a mainstay. I would love for him to continue to come back. But I don't think Danny is lining up the next 5 seasons. He's not planning for that. He's planning to get the 500K now and then take the bag and leave.
well, I do have some insight into that actually. I saw someone post today. Danny's actually been chirping back at people on Twitter that have been like the Tory stands and the MTV Legends fans bemoaning Danny's play, and that sort of thing. Like you should stick with Jordan. It's smarter, blah blah blah. And someone said he's just doing
Boring.
it. Yeah, someone said something like he's just doing it in order to get the call back or for, and he
He
said
doesn't
in
want
the
it.
tweet, he said, "You think I want to come back on this show?" And I was like, "Oh," I was like, "Oh," he clearly said like he goes, "You think I want to like that's not a motivation for him." He's like he doesn't want to come back on it
We
apparently. So
need, and this is the thing. I understand where it comes from. Like, people have their favorites, right? And they want their favorites to do well. They want to see them go to the final. That's the challenge. That's the secret sauce that makes the challenge work. That's why they bring back so many of these legends season in and season out, right? I get it. But I would like to see more players like Danny come out there and play like this is going to be their only shot at it and leave nothing out there, because this is one of the reasons we see boring gameplay season in and season out with the same people being in the final 5. It's like Groundhog Day, basically.
yeah,
And I don't want to see it. I want to see new people come in. I want to see new legends being born. I want to see people being challenged. Like, it is so fun for me to see Banana sulk because he's not getting his way. Like, this guy
yeah.
is the legend of the game. He's a 7 times champion, and he's butthurt because his move's not playing out. And Jordan is frustrated because he's expecting his past relationships to keep him safe in the game, and it's not doing that. Like, if I had one wish to the production team of the challenges, can we please see more of this? Can we please see more of the legends in the game, the MVPs, the vets, whatever you want to call them, being challenged season in and season out? Because to me, this is entertainment. I'm enjoying this season.
I mean, Danny's being Jordan from 10 years ago.
Mm.
Right? When Jordan was coming in and saying, "Stuff you bananas, I'm here." He went down and pulled the dagger or whatever it was. I can't remember. Was
100%.
it a
Yeah.
dagger? Yeah, like he was that ballsy he didn't respect the existing establishment and said there's a new kid in town, and he established himself as one of the all-time greats, arguably maybe the best ever, some would say. But
Mm.
Danny's now doing exactly the same thing, and it's come back full circle. The veterans are now, Jordan's now bananas. Bananas is still there, but Jordan's of that stature. It's bananas, West, Jordan this season as the top dogs at 100%, and they're clearly above status wise a Yes and a Theo and stuff. So they're who people are looking at. They're who people are gunning for, and that's who Danny's got his sights on.
Yeah, like Danny should not be wanting, and I said this last week. You kind of convinced me that it wasn't the right time to make the move because of who was going to go down in an elimination. But Wes made it easy this week because we know Wes is a badass when it comes to eliminations. He's got the record for most elimination wins for a reason. So if you have the opportunity to put another legend against Wes down there to ensure that either Wes or that legend goes home, this is the opportunity to do it in. And Danny doesn't want to run a final with Wes, Bananas, and also a Jordan in there because this chance, like, I mean, he probably could win, but why would you want to take that risk? You know,
Yeah,
why would you want to take the
absolutely.
risk of going against them?
He is playing smart gameplay. He's
Yeah.
playing smart gameplay. He thought, rightfully so, after speaking with Ben multiple times, that he had the numbers where you can throw your weight around it a bit. Because if like you have to be able to back up that plan with the strategy and the numbers to be able to make it actually happen. And he thought
Mm.
he did, so he's taking it, right? Like there are times when you don't have the numbers, so you lay back, lay low, whatever. But the opportunity presented itself. He took it. Ben, being Ben, is throwing it, but he stood by it. Danny is a man of his word, and he's gonna back himself as well, which I freaking love. It's
Danny,
amazing to see.
you're going to get nothing but love from this podcast. You are now my favorite this season until you're taken out. If you keep playing like this way, I'm going to back you all the way. It shouldn't come as a surprise to your Survivor alumni. I'm a Survivor fan, so obviously I'm going to back the Survivors out there. But let's talk about a Survivor who really pissed me off this episode, and that's Ben. Being this flip-flopper in the game, I thought, he played a good social game. He's on all sides, but I don't think this is a good thing for Ben not to stay with the people he came into the game with. Like, I feel like him flipping against both Sarah Lucina and Danny in the spot is going to make him an easy target when they're wanting to take MVPs out down the line because, he's not necessarily going to be anybody's choice when it comes to the Legends to keep safe in the game. So I'm a little bit worried for Ben in this moment. What did you think of Ben's gameplay and the wishy-washy nature of this gameplay where he's jumping now over to the Bananas train and he's trying to get in with the vets?
It's short-sighted. I don't know. Like Ben, if you believe what they're presenting us, you're getting all the comments all the time. Ben's paranoia. He gets it gets the best of him and all that sort of thing. I don't necessarily have a problem if he makes that decision. Like if he looks at it and goes, look, Casey's strong with them. I can go farther. I can get to the end with this. If they're taking them out or what, like I don't. I can see the logic behind maybe making that decision. I don't like the way he did it. If he went to them, went to Danny, went to Sarah, and said, "Look, this is an individual thing. Even though we've got USA flag on our chest, we know that at the end it's going to be one winner. I think the best thing for me is to do this, and I'm going with Casey's vote. I'm submitting to her for now, and just be upfront about it. Maybe they would be angry and upset, but they could have a chance to figure something. But the fact that he lied to Danny's face, because I'm assuming the plan was already in place when he had
Mm.
that chat with Danny, and then waited until the actual table, just is the worst way to go about it. When you can get thrown in pretty easily, you can there's all these sort of things that can happen. If you're going to make a choice, make the choice. Fine. Is it the right one? I don't know. But in this scenario, when you with those three specific people, especially a Danny and a Sarah, you got to do it the right way and come proper. Like actually think about the consequences of what you're doing here and the way you're doing it. Because Danny at that table looked like he was going to jump across and strangle him. So
I wouldn't have blamed him. I've been defending Ben a lot, and listen, I still think Ben is an okay guy. I think he gets a lot of flack sometimes for no reason. But I think gameplay wise, I can see the positive. You want to jump in with the people who've done it before, but if Ben have watched the challenge before, he would realize he can't trust the vets. He can't trust people like Bananas. They will stab him in the back towards the end of the game, and they will choose their friends over him. I don't necessarily think Casey, without Nani there, is as well ingrained as she would have been in previous seasons. So I don't know how well she's going to do. But there is also the segment where we go into a little bit of Casey playing without Nani for the first time and her having to adapt to it. It looks like her closest allies in the game, the people we see her talk to the most at this stage, is Bananas and Tori.
she just did a season with them, right? They literally just came off ride or die, so that they've got that recency bias and the familiarity. We've just gone through it, and it's almost like a continuation, right? And
Mm.
all of them, whatever season they're on, they always go very deep. They always go pretty much to the end. So there's just more and more time that they've built these relationships. And I've been waiting to see Casey without the Big Brother Alliance and Nani, um, to see how she and we were so excited in episode 0 or episode 1 to see the social case, and then I was like, oh, she disappeared again.
Yeah.
That case is gone, but we see now like that what it means to her to be able to try and do this one on her own and see how that plays
Well,
out. And
she kind of told us her gameplay this episode because she said to
mm,
Ben, what we now need to do is just lay back, lay low, let other people get angry and take each other out, and then we're going to be there at the end. And to me, I look at that and I think to myself, listen, production, you've seen this Casey now for what's this, a sixth season that she's on the show? You've
mm.
consistently see her use the same game plan of not doing anything, not creating exciting TV, letting other people, go after each other just to jump in at the end. Why is she getting the call every single season? What dirt does she have on production that she blackmails them with to be able to go out there the whole time?
I mean, she's a strong performer, and as much as they try to have not everyone can be both, right? The total package, the balance. Like we
Mm.
although Jenny West hasn't gotten a call back, and Casey's definitely in that kind of that ballpark. But I was thinking, like, not everyone can bring the drama and the stuff of a Nani without the competitive, and then you've got people that are more competitive without the personality, like a
Is
Jody,
it because
for
she's a
example, in this
yes
season.
woman? Is it because she's a yes woman? She's okay to let the bananas and the CTs of this world and those types of players go deep without causing any kind of like disturbance or going up against the fan favorites. And she's just
Mm.
happy to sit back and then hopefully win it out at the end. Is that maybe a reason? Because Jenny West, like you said, similar, maybe not the most captivating TV, but she's definitely a performer. Athletically, she's at that level, but she's someone that's not afraid to go against the legends of the house. Do they not? Maybe do you think production wants people on there most of the time that will let the fan favorites go deep in the game?
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, I don't discount the fact that, like, even though Casey said in the first episode that she's a social player and we don't really see it, there's undoubtedly a very, very strong social game that just doesn't translate to camera because she's very
Mm,
popular. Everyone loves her. She's never had any beef with anyone. And the fact that they keep bringing her back, she's probably incredibly personable, even to production, even to like
mm,
to have someone that is not going to, as much as drama brings in numbers as well, you don't want an entire cast of uncontrollable Camillas, right? Um, Casey is predictable. Casey will perform well. She's not going to like cause any issues. It's probably like the Filipina in her, to be honest. You just do what you're told and kind of perform, and that's it. But
yeah.
she's physically very capable, and she's always a very, very good partner to whoever she's with as well. So if you have a few couples or teams that are the drama teams, and you have a few teams that are the solid perform, like you kind of have a mix, and I think she adds that nice vanilla mix that doesn't like throw the flavor too off either way. You can just add a number in without upsetting the chemistry, if you will.
Mm. Yeah, interesting. I did want to talk a little bit about Wes and Jordan. We get this segment with them in the beginning of this episode where they start strategizing and talking about how they're going to work together in the game. We already saw Wes and Jordan kind of sort of hinting at working together in the previous All-Star season, so I'm not overly surprised to see them also working together in this season, and they're probably looking at it as too early to go directly after each other in the game. But as soon as I saw this, I kind of had this feeling one of them is going to be in trouble this week. I had a feeling with the Zara segment telling us that she's dyslexic and that she's got to
Mm.
like focus, and I'm wondering if that's going to come back. Will we have like some sort of a word puzzle in the arena? Might this come back to be the thing that ends up sending Wes and Zara out of the game? Because I found it very interesting that they left that in because it was never part of her story on the Challenge UK. I did not know that about her.
Right. Yeah. It's a little breadcrumb, isn't it? It's Chekhov's gun. If they mention it in
Mm,
the first act of the film, it's going to come back in the third act of the film. So we'll
yeah.
probably see something where that plays out. I'm sure you're right. I reckon maybe the elimination. If they're putting that little seed now, maybe Wes is going home early. You know.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm feeling sick to my stomach thinking about it because I was conflicted. Like, people will probably listen to this and say, "Oh, Chris is only like after the new players and only cares about survivors." I'm a massive Wes fan. Wes was my number one draft pick for the season, going up against Angel Cake and Chantel. So if I lose him, I'm going to be devastated because he's like a legend that I'm banking on to bring it home for me this season. And he does bring really great entertainment to the show. It'll be sad to see him go this soon, but I've got a feeling that we will see Jordan going up against Wes in this spot, and that they're sort of prolonging it. But we'll talk a little bit about that as we get to the end of the episode. I do want to get into the daily challenge. The daily challenge, we saw this in the previews, we saw this on the trailers. It looked like one of the more interesting dailies with 4 excavators flying around with one player on it, having to catch rings. But before they do that, they have to chuck down a horrible drink. And Wes has got this big brain plan of his to not chug it down and just to go into the challenge with the points against them. But it's kind of why we love Wes, right? I mean, it didn't work out this time, but sometimes he does find ways to break the game ahead of him.
Yeah, it's again, going into it, it actually kind of did work. They weren't the lowest score. Troy and Amber were -7 versus Wes and Zara's -5, which is controversial in and of itself. The fact that Amber tried very hard, didn't finish, and got punished harder than Wes, who put it down and didn't even have to put up with it.
Why did that happen? I kind of missed that. What, like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
So it's -5 if you don't finish, and
Hmm.
-2 if you throw up.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
Wes
So you
didn't
would have been
finish.
better not even to try. So in that case, if you were going to
Exactly.
finish,
Yeah.
if you're not going to finish and throw up.
Yeah, that's
Hmm.
right. So if he looked at it and did the calculations of like, we're probably not going to finish this and I'm going to throw up, maybe we just put it down and take the 5 instead of the 7, banking on your ability to be able to do the ring toss and stuff. But that didn't work out too well for them, unfortunately. Zara coming up with a weakness in the game,
Yeah. I
being
mean,
touted as a physical challenger. She's fast, we know that, but throwing stuff at a moving target has not worked out well this week.
yeah, it's interesting how some people can be so solid in so many different things, and then the thing that they're weak at is like the thing you least expect them to be weak at, like doing a physical challenge like this. But it had to do with timing. You had to get it right. I think Wes was also taking a lot of control and telling her when to throw. So maybe she was a little bit in her head about that when she was doing it as well, where other people seem to leave it up to the person who was throwing to actually time it. So maybe that threw her off in the beginning a little bit. But clearly this didn't work. The strategy didn't work. It did put Wes and her at the bottom at the end of this. But a couple of teams performed really well. Bananas and was it Jasmine?
Justine.
Right? Justine, sorry.
Yeah.
Bananas and Justine did extremely well. And then also Kiki and Darrell did extremely well. And we're continuing to see more and more of Kiki and Darrell's relationship as a duo. And I've got to say, as a duo, I feel like they've got such great chemistry. The way that they play off each other, the respect that Darrell has for Kiki as a partner. Like, some people were very low on Darrell coming into this season. They were very low on Kiki being with Darrell. But at this stage, I've got to say, they look like one of the most solid teams out there. Darrell might finally have a partner that can actually hang with him until the end game.
He does. I mean, Kiki's got that right hook, right? That's what she said. So, I
100%.
mean, the thing that I love, and I don't think the challenge can play into the edit as much as like Survivor, for example, but consistently every time Kiki is shown, except for the pork chop moment, and that's because it's meant to make Grant and Emily look bad by talking behind her back. But every time Kiki is shown and every time someone talks about Kiki, it's praise. Janae
So much
said this
respect.
time, yes, so much respect. Janae, they choose to leave it in the edit as well. That Janae saying, "I'm scared of Kiki," right? And then we saw when she had the
And
pole
Janae
wrestle.
is a two-time champion. So you've got a two-time
Exactly.
champion saying this person is scary because she may look like a Barbie doll. She may look like she's, doing all the makeup and she's this, high maintenance girl. But when she goes out in the arena, she becomes a different animal and she becomes a fighter.
I just love that. I love Kiki. I love that she's representing us so well. And the fact that it seems like the television production and the show is loving her as well and really showcasing her. And like you said, the way that she's playing off of Darrell. And maybe it took someone like Kiki to bring that out of Darrell as well. That he's having the
Mm,
lighthearted, fun side. He's joking around. Usually Darrell, in being his strategy of going under the radar, I think that also dulls his personality a bit as well. And when someone who like Kiki is sitting next to you, I don't think you can kind of
I
contain it.
loved,
You know what I
I
mean?
loved, I loved it when he was swearing. And he's like, "Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have sweared." And she's like, "No, go ahead." So Aussie of her to be like, "No, swear away. I love it." And I think that makes him maybe feel more comfortable in himself. But I've got both Wes, both Darrell and Kiki in my team. Kiki was my outright number one female pick for this season, and I picked her above some of the returning legends of the game. And I think people were shocked. And this is the reason why, because I saw something in Kiki. I'm always impressed when somebody proves me wrong coming into a season. And you and I both know that season when she came in as a batchy girl, I was like, nah, she's not gonna do
No.
well. I can't see it. And she proved me wrong. And I'm a Kiki believer at this stage. And I do think that she is gonna take a lot of work from someone to take out. And it's gonna have to be one hell of an effort for her to go out. And she's definitely gonna go out fighting. And I can't wait to see how this season is gonna play out. But I also want to talk about another previous champion, another I believe fan favorite, or someone that's become a fan favorite in recent seasons, Amber. Amber and Troy here in this specific spot. Amber mentions that she was feeling sick coming into this, and she can't finish the drink.
Yeah.
Do you think what are you thinking? What I'm thinking?
As soon as I heard it and she said, "I've been sick for days," I'm like, I know what that is. I've seen it
Mm,
3 times myself, actually, with my wife. So, yeah, we know she's pregnant, and when you do the maths and stuff, like I think, if you look up the BMX inductee Hall of Fame thing, it was
mm,
October 29. So this would have been a few days, 4 or 5 days, 3, 4 or 5 days after that, early
yes.
November. I mean, she was pregnant. She's
Mm.
100% pregnant, and the fact that they're again leaving that breadcrumb, dropping it in there, I think we're going to see it. I think we're going to see it soon. Actually,
Yeah. It just absolutely amazes me how the show can get it so wrong. This is going to be like what, the third pregnancy now that we've had on the
yeah,
show? Like, how do they not test for this? Like, at this point, like, these women keep playing the game and they're pregnant going into the show. I can't imagine it's good for them to be pregnant and putting their body through some of these physical challenges while they're out there. So I just want to say, do better next time, production. Like, let's not make it a fourth.
yeah. Like it's the bare minimum of healthcare. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, not to go down the political route, but we know how much women's medical care in America is such a big issue, and something as simple as this, and Bunham Murray, CBS, MTV, whoever it is, cannot buy a test. Like, just buy a
Mm,
test as part of the
it can't be
normal
done.
health checks that you do, right?
Okay, I'm amazed by this. But anyway, so we do get back into the house,
What
and
did you think of the challenge, though?
oh yes, we
Because we've
didn't
been
actually
waiting
talk
for
about the
that one,
challenge.
right? We've been
Yeah,
seeing it, and we were blown away when we first saw the trailer.
I loved it. I
Yeah,
wanted to be out there doing it myself. This looks like, how they say that men really never grow up; their toys just
yeah,
become bigger. And I kind of feel like this is what happens when you let another grown-up boy run a show such as TJ. His toys just
yeah.
get bigger and he has more fun with it. Like,
It
I,
was
I
so
kind of wish
good.
I had 4 excavators and a big yard that I can put this up so we could go and play around and do this. It looked like so much fun.
It was so good. And again, like we mentioned in the first couple episodes, the scale that the challenge can bring, it just
Yes.
looks so. And the contrast is funny because I watched season 44 Survivor, and
Yes.
in that episode there was like, it just felt like a carnival game when I watched these massive swinging excavators doing this thing, and then they were like doing the little ball challenge, and I just felt like the contrast felt so weird to me when Survivor is a much bigger show, much bigger budget, but
Mm.
the challenge can just pull out these wacky zany things that just look so epic
It's
on the
interesting.
screen.
And
Yeah.
and for me, it's not about the size, because remember with Survivor, they're stuck on an island, right? So it's also about like how much can they really
Not a
get
lot
on
of
Fiji?
excavators there. Yeah,
Yeah,
not many
exactly.
excavators.
Only two on the whole island, you know. So, but how do they like make it more grand on Survivor when they're always on Fiji? I don't know. Obviously, being in South Africa and Argentina or wherever they go, they've got access to more. But what the challenge do better, and what I was criticizing Survivor about last week was that the challenge continues to innovate and bring new and interesting challenges to the game. Now, Jeff's idea of doing that for Survivor is to throw new twists at the game at all times and to make it more of a carnival game. I would prefer for him to bring, like, make challenges or immunity team challenges more interesting. Like, give them a choice between, like, kind of how you have Sweat and Savvy, make Sweat and Savvy a choice within a challenge, where we saw it in Australian Survivor one season when they had to choose to either do a very complex puzzle or do the physical bit of using an axe and chopping through a log, and that would take longer, but it was easier to do than solving the puzzle. Things like that. Just like, I think there's things that Survivor can do to innovate their challenges, which I feel like they haven't done in a long time, where the challenge, I mean, it is the whole concept of the show is the challenge. They pride themselves in that. So I'm just very happy that for players that consistently come back, they can't always game it. Like Wes tried to game this and he failed at it because it wasn't something that he's done before. It's new, and he didn't understand the consequences for him failing to chuck down that drink. So it's interesting. But yeah, hats off to the challenge. Hats off to the people who think these things through to continue to innovate and give us new challenges. It was very evident when we saw the 4 different franchises do the same challenges that it got pretty boring very quickly when you watch the UK or Australia or the USA or 38, and you saw them kind of reuse some of the
Recycle,
challenges. Yeah. All right. So moving on to the moment that they get back into the house. This is where things get very interesting. There's a lot of different conversations happening. Danny and Tori, they have their disagreement about Jordan needing to go in. We again see Grant and Emily talking about the fact that they're close with the USA team and they want to have this alliance in place. And we see that Troy and Amber are kind of in the middle. I'm kind of surprised that Amber doesn't really stick with the vets. And it's a good thing for her because they've never really shown her any loyalty in any of the games that she's played. So she doesn't owe them anything. But I am surprised that, unlike, for instance, a Jody and a Kellyanne who's trying to, or more so Kellyanne than Jody. Kellyanne's trying to get favor with Bananas in that group. Jody understands she needs to play her own game. Amber is also standing on her own 2 feet and saying, this is a different game and I'm willing to play with the MVPs again.
I think there's also an element of how much of the legends approaching Amber too. She's always on the outs with them, like even in recent seasons, like she's just consistently, despite being evidently so lovely, she seems like the nicest person ever. And she came out with a diagnosis that explained why she is getting labels from people about being snaky or two-faced or whatever they say, which is all kind of bullshit. But she's always been super lovely to me. But still, I'm wondering, did they actually approach her? Are the legends fine to just let her be because they think they've got their numbers sorted already and not worrying about her? Maybe they figure being on the Australian team, the link to the Aussies is stronger than theirs would be to her, so they're leaving it go. I'm not sure, but I think it's like they're not coming after her, and so she's not fussed to run after them either.
And I mean, she feels very at home in that Australian team. She's got Darrell, her mentor in the game, in the Australian team as well, someone that she's very loyal to. And it does warm my heart to see that Darrell still has that allegiance to her in the game as well. That was cool to see. And the fact that immediately when Darrell and Kiki won, both Troy and Amber felt extremely safe. And they were like, yep, we're not going in because Troy and Kiki have that mutual respect as champions of the game. I know Connor's interview hasn't come out yet. I haven't got an approval yet. I know I will get it, and it will definitely come out. But I found it quite interesting that he said, and I think I can disclose. I'm pretty sure that Brooke has already disclosed this herself. But Brooke was asked to be on this season. She said no, based on the fact that she found out who the guy was going to be that was going out there in Grant, and she was like, "Well, that's not my people," and that's one of the reasons she didn't go out there. So I find it quite interesting, because there is definitely this there's this rift between them, but it's also making it very interesting because we know that they're not all in a tight alliance like USA. Three of them came in, I think, with a very tight alliance. And Justine was more than willing to work with Danny and Sarah, but she didn't kind of trust Ben. So I like the fact that there's some of these slight rifts coming into the game.
And there's always going to be the beauty of the way they've set it up is by, yes, we're saying it's like countries, but you're in pairs, and when it comes to the end of this game, everybody knows it's not going to be a team win. Like, we have seasons where it's teams, right? They could have done that. What they've done is set up like couples, like like teams of two, as opposed to bigger country teams. And that's very intentional to get these splits, to get these divisions. Even though we're a country together, we know that at some point it has to be me over you, right? Only one team's going to win. It's not like three winners. You get a second and a third, sure, but one winner, and they all have that in their mind, I think.
Yeah. It was interesting seeing Kiki and Troy talking about the fact that they're the two that deserves to be there, and that Grant and Emily need to know their place coming into this season. So that, because Troy let Kiki in, that Kiki may have been a bit of a scapegoat for Emily in that first vote, and I think that's going to come back to continue to play out this season, because Kiki is not going to take lightly to this betrayal from Emily in the first round, even though Emily never really wanted Kiki to go home. Just the fact that she was willing to risk it, I think, is not a great look on Emily. So I don't know why. I just feel like Kiki and Emily, at some point, we're going to see them go head to head in an arena. I just see it coming. Based on the edit. You still there?
They seem to be gearing it up for that. Like, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yep. We're back.
Yeah. Okay. So let's have a look at the rest of the team. I guess we've got Wes going and Zara going into the room there with both the winners, Darrell and Kiki, and they're waiting for a result to come there, and it becomes the stalemate, which absolutely shocks the house. That how can they force a stalemate? And again, this is the reason why I'm loving this season. I'm loving the balls on someone like Danny to say, I don't give a crap. I will go down there if I want to, because everybody is saying you never do that. You don't want to upset TJ. Please don't upset TJ. If you upset TJ, it's going to be a very bad day for you. Well, I'm so glad someone is willing to upset TJ. And this is what you get when you get new players in the game. You get interesting outcomes, Kahuna, because you know that the vets in the game would not have tested TJ.
Yeah, Danny's like, let's see then. You keep talking about it. Let's bring it on. Let's see what's
I'm curious.
Let's see what's going to happen. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm always curious. Every season they do the little tease of, oh, you don't want to upset TJ. And I'm always like, what is going to happen if TJ gets upset?
Yeah, let's upset TJ.
Yeah, like we've seen it. Like, I think the last time was the Zach and Amanda one, right? And they just went in themselves. So, like, if that was the worst case scenario, Danny was like, that's fine. But it wasn't.
If I have to take Wes out myself, I will. Is what he's thinking.
Yeah, but it wasn't just them that was stalemating, right? It's the entire house. It's not like they could have been
exactly
targeted. They were just the last team to vote, and he burned vote anyway. So there's no way it could have come back in that way with the way Tori was saying, oh, you don't know what's going to happen. Might come back. It's not coming back to Danny. Not right now anyway. Or maybe in the fact that it opened up the entire house to being thrown in, not just being, but yeah,
is this
like
the most exciting outcome we've had? Is this the most exciting outcome we've had in a vote in like seasons? Like, when last have we had an exciting outcome to a vote like this?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's really good. I think one of the difficulties in the challenge is the fact that they do it face to face. So there's no hiding. So once one person does it, it's so much easier to just lay on top and stacks on the votes on whoever it is, because you're not the one that upset the cart. You're just doing what everyone else did. When you can do it anonymously, that's when you can grow a bit of balls. But Danny said, "Yeah, I back my vote. I'll do it right now in front of everyone right now."
I loved it.
Yeah, laid it down, and you get that confrontation. The one great thing about the challenge is that it forces them to talk it out, and most of the time, the dominant personalities can rule the room. But when you've got a couple of people that don't want to put up with that, like I love how Grant was talking about when Ben did his thing, and Grant's like, I don't know who this bloke is in the cowboy hat. Grant constantly doesn't know who people are. He's like,
He
oh,
doesn't
this
care.
bloke with the ginger beard,
He doesn't
or
care,
this
mate. He's
this.
like, I don't care who you are.
He does not care. But it's not like, yeah, like it's not that he didn't know who they were before the show. He's been with them for ages now, and he still doesn't know. He's like, who's this bloke in the cowboy hat? So
Yeah.
it's just interesting to
No,
get that
I think,
dynamic
I
play
think
out face to
he,
face all the time. And
yeah. I think it's his way of saying I don't know who he thinks he is, or he can like just betray me like that, or that type of mentality that he
yeah,
sort of has. And I am enjoying Grant a lot more this season than in his first season. I do think that he has been a good casting choice, and he's been pretty competitive so far out there. And I'm excited to see what is going to happen moving forward, because both Grant and Emily are saying that Ben is now fair game moving forward. So they will be targeting Ben and Casey moving forward in the game. So I can see Ben being taken out. Like I said, I don't think this is a good thing for Ben. I think Ben should have stayed with his numbers, but somehow Casey convinced them to come over to the vet side, the trusted side, the people who know what's happening. Like, in what world is like this is great for the likes of Bananas and Jordan to have Ben be in that group. This is not good for Ben. Like, how is Ben gonna beat Bananas and Jordan in the final?
I like how Ben said, on the Team USA, I'm at the bottom of they're a very close trio, and I'm at the bottom of that. So instead, I'll go to a much closer, tighter, decade strong friendship and be at the bottom of that one instead. You
Yeah,
know what
and,
I mean?
and,
Like,
it's such a weird storyline for me to follow, because him and Sarah was so tight. Like, he gave up $2 million, a lot more money
mm,
than what this season has to offer, for Sarah to continue on and Winners at War, so she could go and win in his mind, right? And now suddenly, this person he was willing to give up. This is where I can't follow him. Like they're saying, one day he decides this, the next day he decides that. Now he's willing to turn his back on that friendship. All of that, social capital that he's built over years. Like, I mean, they clearly would have socialized outside of the game as well, at events and things like that. And he's willing
mhm.
to go against that for what? Like, for Casey, for Bananas, for Jordan? I don't get it, man. Like, I am confused by his gameplay this season.
Yeah, I don't see the upside. I don't see. Yeah, like especially because like maybe Bananas being with Justine, that's Team USA. You can at least ingratiate yourself there. But right now, Jordan is Team UK, right? Like, where's the loyalty and why are you trying to? Yeah, I don't understand why you would be sucking up to them when you've got the likes of Danny and Sarah right behind you. Sarah partnered with Theo, Danny partnered with Tori. Like, you look behind, because he said some crap about like Team USA looks really, everyone thinks Team USA is really strong, but it's like 2x4s with paint on it, and all I did was kick off a 2x4. I'm like, what are you talking about? Your team is very strong. If you
Yeah.
guys stick together and actually did the thing properly, like especially with Team Australia, and actually did what Danny's saying, they could romp
I'm
over them.
confused. I'm confused. That alliance got him to the end in the previous season. It's not like they betrayed him at any point in that previous season. So
Mm,
I don't get where this mistrust comes from. And maybe it is the fact that he's a bit jealous that it seems like Sarah and Danny have a very tight bond, and they potentially have become closer to each other than what he is. And now he feels like he's outside on that duo working together, and he sees a little bit of Sarah working with Tony and Winners at War, and him being the third person in. Maybe it's a little bit of scars from that game following him into this challenge, but Sarah's never betrayed him. And Danny's never betrayed him in the game. So I don't get where this is coming from. There's so many people that can go before any of them have to come after each other in the game. So I am confused. I wish we get to see a little bit more of Ben doing exit press after the season, so we can understand the thought process that went into the game decision to move away from this Team USA. But I do want to get into the arena. We've got TJ there telling us what is going to happen with the stalemate. Kiki and Darrell, the team that won, they're going to make the decision of who is going to go into the arena to face both Wes and Zara. What do you think they're going to do? Do you think Kiki and Darrell's going to make the bold play here after Danny put himself at risk, and they're going to follow through with putting Jordan and Kaz down there?
How much time do you reckon they have to gameplay what TJ might do? They've been saying, what's TJ going to do? What's TJ going to do? they would have played out some scenarios in their head, right?
It
So
looked like
I
they had a bit of time. Like, I mean, we saw them talking quite a bit after that, sitting around. So I feel like there would
yeah.
have been enough time for them to decide.
So I wonder if they said, if you had enough chance to go, if TJ says you get to pick whoever you want and it's open slaver, I would really love to see Ben and Casey after that episode. Like I wonder if
Oh, snap.
Danny had a chance to talk to Darrell and Kiki, sorry, and say like, you know what just happened there, right? They're screwing
Yeah.
you over, they're screwing us over. Like put him straight in and they dropped the thing you said. Emily said
Mm,
that they're fair game now. I
mm,
wonder,
mm.
like I'm like thinking like narratively,
That would
like
be a
in movies.
crazy
I'm like,
outcome.
this would be awesome, yeah. And
That'd
it
be a
could
crazy
also
outcome, and I'm here
be,
for it.
well, I thought as well, like that could be why they held it off. Like
It
if
could
it's such
be,
a
and
big, you know,
yeah, it's such a big twist. And for me, I look at Darrell, and he's a legend. He's a vet in the game. Like I said in the beginning of this podcast, he's someone that knows he's going to have to play with Jordan again. He's going to have to play with Bananas again. I don't think Darrell wants to make a big move. I don't think Darrell is going to pull the trigger here. You know, the more I think about it, because Darrell needs to worry about playing with Jordan again in the future, and he doesn't want Jordan to come after him in another season. So um, I'm kind of leaning towards your way. I think we could be seeing a completely left field decision here with Ben and Casey having to go down there and go up against Wes and Zara. And that could be very exciting to see play out.
yeah. I just hope he doesn't fall back on the Jody Benha, Tristan Kellyanne, and
Yeah, that would be
if
boring.
yeah, and Darrell probably might be boring, but let's hope he's not.
Hmm.
Um, and
He
if
makes
it's
the
not
safe
going to
choice
be,
most of the time.
yeah, like I don't think he would have the same um not necessarily allegiance, because I don't think Darrell approaches it like a loyalty thing, but he definitely respects Jordan and Wes and Bananas. I don't know how he holds Casey, in what regard, you know what I mean? Like
Mm.
she's a newer to the challenge. She's a newer champion. He's a four-time, long time, legend. So I don't know. Maybe he was like, I'm not upsetting the cart as much with a Casey and Ben pick. That'd be amazing to see. But if he's wanting to make a move while still remaining somewhat under the radar, he could definitely make it worse for himself by going a Jordan or a Bananas or something like that. Maybe Ben and Casey could be a good pick.
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it. I can't wait to see how it plays out next week. It was a bit of a weird episode, not having an ending to it, not seeing somebody go home in the arena. I do hope that next week we do get to see a full episode play out, because, at this point, I'm kind of feeling like, what are we doing? Like, we've
I
only
have a
had
theory
5
on that.
episodes.
I have a theory.
You
The
think Amber?
Yeah, I think Amber is going to get medically done next episode. That's why
Yeah,
they held off the elimination, so that there's at least
man.
something, not, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
wondering if that might be the case. And then I'm really worried about Troy,
Same, same. Like, this would
because
be a gutting way for Troy to leave the game. Like, he does not deserve to go out like that, because we've seen it happen before. Somebody gets pulled out of the game, and then the other person ends up going home. That happened with, was it Casey and Kohara? And Kohara had to go home
mm. But the
in All
the
Stars.
reason why I think they should, like, I know Jenny West was an alternate, maybe she gets a call up, but the reason
I
why I
hope
think
so.
it would be so gutting and so unfair is because it's something that's outside of the game. Right? When they get injured in game, or when they can't cope in game and they're mentally breaking down, they want to get out of there. It's because it's in game. This is
Yeah,
something that is great. This is amazing news. This is something that happened outside of the game, and then you're going to punish Troy, a champion who, by the way, is Team Australia, and she's the legend on team. Like, do you take out a Team Australia player for the legend that
yeah.
got picked? You know what I mean? Like, it feels so much more unfair than when your partner loses their cool and gets in a fight. You know what
Do
I
we
mean? Like, it's
see? Could we potentially see a girls only elimination because of it, and Troy kind of stays in the game, and then whoever of those girls end up winning does become Troy's partner? That seems like it would be the most fair way to do it.
yeah, that'd be. I hope so. Like, I'm just hoping against hope that Troy doesn't get the normal challenge
Treatment.
process of your partner's out. But he hasn't really done the thing this year. Like, this season. Sorry, I know with Ride or Dies, it was actually part of the title was built into it, but TJ's usually clearer when he says you're tied to your partner or this is a partner game
He
or
hasn't said it. You're
whatever.
right.
There's been no clarification, so things can still get changed up. I don't know. I don't see it happening because the partners is giving such great like drama and content and splits and all that. So they might keep it that way probably, but we don't know yet. So maybe Troy gets a lifeline. I'm hoping, but I think the
Let's
Amber thing
put
was a
all the good
bad
karma out
sign.
there. Put all the
Yeah,
good karma that we have
absolutely.
out there. But for now, Kahuna, I think that's it here for this week. If you got to this part of the podcast, please consider subscribing. Put a like on this video. Hit the notification bell so you can be notified when we go live next. I was just told today that someone missed the live that I did with Peridium for Survivor 44 episode 5, and they were gutted. And I told them, put the notification bell on. That way you get notified when I go live and you know when I've got special guests on the channel. So if you're a Survivor fan, go check that out. We've got more content dropping this weekend. We'll have also Drew and Chantel talking to me about the first 5 episodes of the challenge here. We'll be getting together 3 times this season. This is our first time. It'll be on my channel. The second time, which will be around episode 8 or 9, that will be on Chantel's channel on Reality Realness. And then we'll do our final season review on the Angel Cake Entertainment channel. So if you're missing the 3 of us together, be sure to check it out this weekend. That will be dropping as well. Outside of that, is there any final thoughts from your end, Kuna, before we finish this off?
Stop acting like a pork chop, folks.
Yeah, remember not to act like a pork chop back at home. All right. So we'll catch you guys next time. Let us know in the comments below what you thought of this episode and this recap and review. Catch you guys next time. Bye.